Hello and welcome to today. This is another AI update. Let's just dive in and see how we go. So there was a lot of interesting breakthroughs and trends this week in AI. It's been a whirlwind from revolutionary open source models that have been launching, and they just continue to get launched just as they have in the previous weeks. 8 giants deep dives into global tech and the future of work and coding. So another exciting week. Open source breakthroughs and model innovations. I started diving into the latest in open source AI developments like DeepSeek 3.2. Again, everyone online, the rhetoric was, this is another DeepSeek moment. The same way that it happened at the start of the year when the first reasoning models became a thing. Or was it at the start of last year? I don't really know. I think it was this year. Open source model needs less power, more token efficient, even though it costs more, but it also has received gold in the math competitions. And it is a fraction of the cost of those paid models. This is going to be a challenge to the existing market with Anthropic, Claude, etc., etc., etc. Just because if you can get the top of the line performance on an open source model, why would you pay for the higher model? And then this is why the open source models have become such a big thing in the market, simply because if you can get cheap things that perform well, why would you pay for the more expensive ones? And then that's where the big concern comes from with those international geopolitics issues with China, etc., etc. Won't dive into that. We've mentioned it 100 times. There was also new innovations through Mistral. They released some new models, which is one's a 675 billion parameter mixture of experts model. I think they were the ones that pioneered that approach of a mixture of experts, which is a lot of singular models that are trained in specific domains and they're used together. So then you can route queries to the appropriate model depending on what you need to focus on. So it's not one general overall, one model does everything. They got 3 variants, different sizes. They brought that approach forward to the market again, but I'm not sure what's happening up there, but they are an open source player too. Another major thread this week was how companies are rethinking the scalability of AI. There's plenty of guides I watched that covered from pilot projects to full-scale deployments, as well as AI fluency within organizations. There's a lot of organizations out there that don't know what they're doing, don't know what the approach is, or how they should actually be going around getting AI proof of concept into a prototype, into production. The demo, shiny part is easy. Anyone can go on NAN, make, Zapier, Integromat, whatever it may be, or even go to Lovable, Replit, etc., and just get a model up and running, get something proven and working. The last hard part is getting it to production, making it stable, making it reliable. And that is where that AI fluency comes in more, because it's not just about making something work, it's getting it to market, getting it reliable, making it actually be a part of the toolbox that you provide to your business. And then there's also the fluency in training people and educating them, making those culture shifts to get people to understand how to use AI that is there for their benefit, not to replace them. Because there's a lot of talk around people when they're getting scared that AI is going to take our jobs, which you've been hearing forever. But that's where it becomes an AI literacy guide that everyone needs to follow in the organization. So then everyone goes along for the journey and learns. They will lose a job if they don't use AI. That's going to be the problem, not that AI is going to take their job. So that's just something to consider. And then there were several discussions on Sam Altman declaring code red in response to Google's Gemini 3 being such a great model, and apparently they're scrambling to get new models out the door. Apparently they have better models behind the scenes, but they haven't released them to anyone. So then there is now this push and internal where they've stopped extra products, advertising in ChatGPT. Who the hell fuck wants that? So that then they can compete with having the best consumer experience for models, not adding in all these other things. Because at the moment, they are a consumer tech company now. Their biggest customer is not the enterprise or the B2B, like Anthropics, it's consumers. So it's going to be a real pivot there that we're going to see on a shift on focusing more on the interface, more features and that are being brought to that, rather than having all these other different threads and tendrils that they've been growing to try to break into different markets. Global tech competition and geopolitical dynamics. The competitive landscape isn't just about who can build the most powerful model. There's also a fascinating battle being waged on the geopolitical stage. One video delved into the USA's Genesis mission. That is their Manhattan project level on building AI infrastructure by the US government and having centralized AI use and data available to everyone in the government and as a consensus and a collective group, so they can supercharge their AI efforts and get ahead of everyone else. It is a race. Apparently, this initiative is backed by the Big Seven, which is Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, Microsoft. There was some podcast with someone talking about AI and the competition with China versus Australia that was saying that if you're going to compete with China, be cautious simply because they have the most STEM graduates out of any country in the world. So they're going to have a larger pool of talent to pull from compared to America or anywhere else, simply because of the way they've been pushing STEM through the education curriculum over the past few decades. AI's impact on work and coding safety. Broadening the conversation beyond model performance and market strategies, I also watched insightful takes on how AI is reshaping our work or even software engineering. One striking study suggests that AI tools could automate 57% of current human work hours in the US, which apparently is 2.9 trillion with a T dollars of value in that time. But I don't know when we're going to get there, what that looks like. I didn't dive too much into that study to give you more of an opinion or thoughts on what that may actually look like. But then there was also other models where Opus 4.5 is really killing it in the coding game. Like, it's just doing so well, very little bugs, and delivering output. When you know how to prompt it, I know how to give it instructions and tell it what to do, and I get the great results. So there is going to be that big improvement and time saved, considering looking at that development, the actual doing task jobs. So if someone's job is doing the task, that's going to end up being where the AI is getting replace people, or AI will come in and help those people move up the chain to do something better. And then apparently there was a huge AI push on Black Friday with OpenAI pushing stuff in their ads, and then having a lot of AI powered shopping systems. I'm sure everyone may have seen them if they were online. Started seeing a lot more chatbots which are popping up. Didn't interact with any of them. I don't like the chatbot interface. I'd rather talk to a person if it's there. But if it was an AI shopping assistant, I didn't see many that gave a good idea to us and notify us or educate us that that's what that it actually was. So it has been another interesting week again with DeepSeek, Mistral. We had no new release from ChatGPT, but Gemini 3 Pro the week before that came out, and then their reaction to everything. The market, again, is just all over the place. People don't know what's happening. So many new models popping up, and it's very difficult to keep up. I've been doing this approach to these update videos now, almost 8 months it's been. So that's just looking here on my computer. I've got 34 weeks of these update videos done. And the hardest part is just keeping going, trying to be on top of everything. There's a lot of content to consume, a lot of information. I don't know if I'm doing this too brief or not giving you enough details, but I imagine we're going to have maybe a bit of a quiet period over the next few weeks moving into Christmas. Out of the US, Chinese market and other markets will do something different, because that's what happened with the DeepSeek moment last time when we had DeepSeek R1, the thinking model that sort of revolutionized and scared everyone. The other thing that's probably happening in the market is Gemini 3 Pro was released. They got an uptick in the share market, and then that dropped OpenAI's valuations in the market, because Gemini can do this and they're competing at that level, and OpenAI hasn't been done as much. So they started putting a little bit of pressure, I think, and there's chatter online about the commitments that OpenAI has made for their $1 trillion of spending in these data centers and on inference over the past few months. It looked like they were too big to fail, but Google seems to be in the best spot to take over, technically, if you look at everything they've done and what we've seen in the past few weeks about having their own hardware, having their own tools, having a large number of users. They make money off other things, so they can invest their own money. If they don't make money for a while, it doesn't matter, because they've got other parts of the business. They've embedded AI into those other parts of the business and provided better tools. So then that sentiment against, can OpenAI actually commit to the commitments that they've made? And if they don't, then how do all those other commitments that they've made against all the other partners that are then using that commitment and have gotten the benefit from it in their stock price, etc., etc. It's just a revolving circle. So that's going to be an interesting take to see what happens over the next few months, and whether they come out with these new models. And they've got some funny names like garlic and horseradish and ghost or something like that. I'm not even sure, but that's going to be something interesting to see where it comes from, where it goes. But always keep an eye on it. And as usual, good luck keeping up with the news.